All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining us during the Lytham Partners Spring 2022 Investor Conference. My name is Robert Blum, Managing Partner of Lytham Partners. And during this upcoming presentation, we welcome Senestech, ticker symbol of SNES. It's on the NASDAQ, and the company's Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Ken Siegel, and Chief Financial Officer, Tom Chesterman. Before I do turn it over to Ken and Tom, I want to remind everyone that the company will be available for one-on-one meetings later this week. If you have not already signed up, you can do so. Send me an email. Email address is Blum, B-L-U-M, at lythampartners.com. Or again, you can visit the website here at lythampartners.com/virtual. Click on the one-on-one meeting request button, and we will look to get you taken care of there. So with that, let me turn the screen share on, and Ken, I'll turn it over to you to begin.
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah.
So as Robert said, this is Ken Siegel. I'm the CEO of Senestech. And today I want to talk to you about rats, too many rats, and what we should do about them. We at Senestech have a product, ContraPest, which is disrupting the pest control industry by bringing a high-tech solution to a low-tech problem, too many rats. Simply put, ContraPest is rodent birth control. We in the US are currently spending $1 billion per year on poison and other lethal treatments. And frankly, it's not working. There are still too many rats. Senestech is doing this at the right time in history, when we as a society are focusing on sustainability in a global sense, and we're re-examining the tools and methods we use to see if they are truly the best we can do. I'll touch on this momentarily, but many of you may be aware that California has enacted a law that came into effect this past year that bans, under many circumstances, the 4 major second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides, which are also known as SGARs, commonly used in pest control. We believe this will have a tectonic effect on the industry as many other states look to follow California's lead. Our product, ContraPest, is not only an effective replacement solution for these rodenticides, but as a contraceptive product, it will improve the effectiveness of any overall pest management program. And while we have this significant opportunity in California, we've also made strong inroads over the past 2 years since I became CEO in completing long-term studies of ContraPest in key markets that we believe will act as a springboard to widespread adoption in 2022 and beyond. I'll touch on our marketing plans in a bit. Our product, ContraPest, is a unique patented contraceptive technology that reduces or eliminates fertility in both male and female rats. ContraPest has been proven in the field to dramatically improve efficacy of integrated pest management, with or without the use of traditional poisons. So let me reiterate. Whatever integrated pest management strategy is being employed to control infestations, it simply works better with ContraPest. It's more effective, more sustainable, and it poses fewer environmental and public health risks. From the standpoint of the customer, this means higher customer satisfaction. From the standpoint of the pest management professional, or PMP, it means increased customer retention and long-term profitability. Having too many rats is a huge problem for society, and it's one worth spending millions on because they cost billions. From a public health standpoint, these animals are a vector for disease, and poisoning them presents a very real danger to people, pets, and wildlife. From a food supply standpoint, rats destroy 20% of the world's stored food supply through consumption or contamination, and they're very destructive. Rats cause over $27 billion of infrastructure damage per year in the US alone. How humanity is currently responding to too many rodents is not working. With many decades, if not centuries of effort and traditional responses, the public health concerns and risks just keep rising. There's also a growing realization that there is too much collateral damage in this war on rodents, as evidenced by California's adoption of the Ecosystem Protections Act, which, as I mentioned, prohibits the use under many circumstances of the 4 major second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides commonly used in rodent control. While the pest control industry has been trying to control rats for decades, it hasn't been very good about innovation or long-term efficacy. The industry has increasingly relied on lethal solutions, various poisons, which leads to rebound as the pests out-reproduce the poisoning campaign, and ultimately leads to developed resistance to or avoidance of specific poisons. So let me repeat. The current treatment protocols are not working. And to some extent, the business model is how do I retain a customer rather than how do I solve the customer's problem? In effect, the industry is relying on failure to drive its business model. Rats breed quickly. Under ideal conditions, 2 mating rats can be responsible for 15,000 descendants within 1 year, which is their approximate lifespan in the wild. So you can't poison them or trap them fast enough to overcome that level of reproduction. Therefore, rebound is a real problem. When you knock the population down via lethal means, you can never get them all. The survivors have an increased food supply and may have been selected for resistance or avoidance capabilities. Their reproductive rate makes the population rebound to the original level quickly. PMPs know this, and they build their practices around it. ContraPest makes integrated pest management work better by addressing that reproduction rate. It drives populations down and keeps them down. Stated differently, meaningful pest control needs to focus on the 2 factors that drive population growth: the birth rate and the death rate. Historically, pest control has only focused on one half of the equation. With ContraPest, you address both, which allows for dramatic improvement in overall performance. IPM just works better with ContraPest than without it, and we'll show you proof in a few slides. We have clear, compelling data that show that a business model that includes ContraPest has longer-term profit potential for PMPs through customer satisfaction, customer retention, and the need to continuously deploy ContraPest, albeit at diminishing levels as the population decreases, in order to assure permanent results. ContraPest is a contraceptive, not a sterilant. It must be continuously deployed for maximum effectiveness. So now let's address customer satisfaction. Different customers have different reasons to be satisfied. In the poultry industry, rat infestations cost money as the rats consume or contaminate feed, as they feed on chicks, as they damage equipment, and as the labor required to control the infestation increases. Last year, we completed 2 model deployments in the poultry industry. In both cases, we were able to demonstrate roughly 90% reductions in rat populations when ContraPest was added to their existing pest management program. Furthermore, in one of them, the staff reported an 88% improvement in pullet or baby chick survival after reducing the rat population with ContraPest. The annual benefit projected by the customer of adding ContraPest to their pest management program was over $600,000 in increased revenue and decreased costs. Their overall investment in ContraPest over the same period was less than $30,000, and that's a fantastic return on investment. But our customers weren't completely satisfied with the deployment of ContraPest in traditional bait boxes, and they asked us for a deployment method more in tune with their roof rat challenges. That led us to develop our all-new Elevate bait system with ContraPest, the EPA approval of which we announced recently. The Elevate bait system is specifically designed to be easily deployed above ground with multiple options for mounting in the rafters of barns, granaries, storage, and manufacturing facilities. Basically, wherever rats are feeding, transiting, or hiding. The novel suspended bait station we created is easily accessible by rats, but out of the way of people, pets, livestock, food stores, and other sensitive areas. The system is lightweight and designed to permit the easy drop-in and replacement of our new 8-ounce bottles of ContraPest, which helps to reduce both servicing time and cost. We're particularly excited about the use of the Elevate system to control roof rats, given the frequent difficulty of deploying traditional rodenticides in the areas they inhabit. This new product design and use is currently undergoing state registrations and is expected to be ready to ship to customers by mid-April, at which time it will be available in most states. We believe that sales into agriculture will be greatly enhanced and accelerated by having the Elevate bait system with ContraPest as an option. This is the additional tool that our sales team believes is key to explosive growth in the agriculture segment. In an urban setting, customer satisfaction is in fewer rat sightings. In many ways, it's more political and social than economic. In a seminal long-term study in Washington, D.C., working with local authorities, we were able to prove decreased activity by 94 to 99% with no rebound. In addition, supporting the effect, the proportion of juveniles to rats or to adult rats decreased by 98 to 99%. That, in the words of population ecologists, is a crash. Over the 12 months of deployment, rat populations crashed and they stayed low. There was no rebound effect. The city has elected to expand the use of ContraPest beyond the study area in their next funding cycle, assuming budgets recover after COVID. We've also used this experience to expand into other government sales. Since the end of the year, we've announced a number of key deployments and applications, especially government, where more and more cities, counties, and government customers are recognizing the growing success of ContraPest through various media reports and our sales and marketing efforts. These positive deployments and the media coverage around them is having a bit of a clustering effect. For instance, following the recent successful deployments in Newton, Massachusetts, and Hartford, Connecticut, we now have a growing number of government entities and communities in New England reaching out for additional information. The same is occurring around Columbus, Ohio, San Francisco, and elsewhere, and we're working hard to convert these inquiries to customers. On the government side, also of importance is that Los Angeles County specified the use of fertility control in one of their requests for proposal. And while it was but for one RFP so far, it is quite a signal that rat control experts in government are beginning to see the value of fertility control in their integrated pest management programs, and especially valuable as they move away from second-generation anticoagulants pursuant to the Ecosystems Protection Act. We expect this trend will continue in future RFPs. And as the only EPA-registered product available for fertility control in rats, this puts ContraPest in an excellent position for further penetration of the government market. In commercializing any disruptive or innovative technology, it's imperative to identify a limited number of high potential verticals on which to focus. These high potential verticals are chosen based on economic potential, access, and the ability to use them as references to other verticals. Our ability to penetrate a market is complicated by the need in most cases to sell the product to and through an intermediary, the pest management professional. We've likened this to the pharmaceutical industry in that prescription drugs need to be prescribed by a doctor, even though they ultimately are consumed by a patient and paid for by insurance. In our case, the PMP, or doctor equivalent, not only needs to be convinced that a customer wants ContraPest, but also that they can make money from the sale and that the customer will be willing to pay for it. In addition, unlike the doctor-patient model, our best potential customers tend to be larger commercial and governmental entities with longer sales cycles, and in the COVID world, with budget and access constraints. To address this dynamic, we've been working on a combined pull and push-through strategy. This means that we're devoting sales and marketing resources to our end user customers to drive pull-through demand to purchase either directly from us or through PMPs. The amount of resources in each segment is driven by our overall priorities and with a view toward driving near-term revenue. In addition, we're devoting sales and marketing resources directly to PMPs to drive push-through demand. As you might suspect, a PMP's customer list doesn't tightly align with our target verticals in all circumstances, so we have the incremental benefit of having them pitch our product to a broader group of end users. One thing this PMP focus has required us to do is to think hard about how we're positioning our product. In order to make incorporation of ContraPest into their service offering less threatening, we've moved away from our historic approach of emphasizing it as a single non-lethal solution. Instead, we're highlighting its role in significantly enhancing an integrated pest management program. Although the non-lethal sole solution approach is attractive in some markets, we've learned that both PMPs and larger customers are focused on immediate and sustained elimination of the problem. And that's best accomplished by combining ContraPest with other traditional lethal solutions. Our strategy has identified 5 key target markets as follows: agribusiness, municipal and government, e-commerce, zoos and sanctuaries, and commercial. All of these segments are serviced by PMPs except e-commerce. We don't view PMPs as a target vertical in themselves. We're certainly selling and marketing to them, but instead are treating them as a push-through target and not an end user. The commercial market subsumes the broader list of customers serviced by PMPs. We're not targeting it directly, but view it as more of an adjunct to our push-through strategy with the PMP. In the near term, we're not devoting significant field selling efforts directly to the commercial market, other than to the PMPs themselves, given how broad and diffuse it is. However, the market is covered by our marketing organization through general awareness campaigns and leave behind collateral used by the PMPs. Our field development work over the last year or so concentrated on generating data for the agribusiness and municipal and government markets. Although these markets involve longer sales cycles, we're using the data as part of our broader marketing strategy, particularly to PMPs and regional distributors that service those segments. This is showing great progress now, particularly in the government space, as cities and towns look for new solutions to growing rat problems. Our near-term strategy is significantly more focused. Although we welcome revenue from any source, we're focusing our sales energies towards near-term revenue generation. Although we continue to be cognizant of our long-term goals, we're de-emphasizing targets that are unlikely to show revenue in the next 6 to 12 months. In the case of each market, this means in food and agriculture, we're using our poultry data to drive sales in market segments that will be able to use existing bait stations. Our ability to grow our presence in poultry will accelerate in the next few months with the Elevate bait system for ContraPest. In the near term, this will add grain sales and storage to our existing poultry focus. We're also evaluating other protein producers as potential targets. Excuse me. Equally critical near term is working with the PMPs that service the industry and their distributors to prime and condition the channel for near-term purchases. In municipal and government, field sales efforts had initially focused on California in light of the new legislation. And we were excited to see the recent RFP in the Los Angeles area requiring the use of fertility control in pest control proposals, and expect that trend to continue. We're also expanding our coverage into other major metropolitan areas as pandemic-related problems have caused unprecedented growth in rat sightings. We expect our growth here to accelerate as cities recover economically from COVID and are able to include ContraPest in their pest management budgets. Our recent successful deployments in Newton, Massachusetts and Hartford, Connecticut, as well as our continued work in San Francisco, are driving increased inbound inquiries around the product as media coverage and our marketing efforts expand awareness. Our sales team is working hard to convert these inquiries into sales in the near term. In e-commerce, sales efforts will focus on our new e-commerce solution and digital marketing campaigns. With that in mind, we've streamlined the buyer's journey in our online store and simplified the checkout process. We've also established relationships with online distributors to promote and sell our products on their sites, thus enhancing our reach. Further improvements will be added to our websites in the coming months. Distributors and PMPs, although a push-through channel, will be very important for our near-term strategy. Our outreach will include telephone and email, training webinars, virtual conferences, and rodeos. We'll be using all of our new efficacy data packaged as learning materials, incentives, and leave behinds to enable our sales professionals and PMPs to sell our product to end users. This will also help drive penetration into the broader commercial market, given the broader portfolio of many PMPs. More recently, we're starting to see interest from major players in the space as they see the need for effective, sustainable solutions, particularly as governments implement limitations on the use of poisons. As I mentioned before, California has enacted the Ecosystems Protection Act, effective January of last year, banning under many circumstances the 4 major second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides commonly used in rodent pest control. This will result in pest managers seeking replacement approaches for the SCARs. The opportunity for Senestech is that ContraPest is a proven approach they can use. To be candid, though, this isn't a windfall, but rather an opportunity. There are exceptions to the ban, and there are other lethal products in the market. Our challenge will be to use this opportunity to reach more PMPs and end user customers and show them that ContraPest is a viable substitute, and then to continue the discussion to how ContraPest is a valuable addition to all integrated pest management scenarios. Even so, we're aggressively targeting California through both our field sales organization and a novel advertising and marketing campaign. Next slide, please. We've implemented several key sales acceleration tactics, all of which are contributing to growth. They include enhanced marketing techniques, new advertising and public relations initiatives, the development of a new website and branding, the launch of our e-commerce site, ContraPestStore.com, the completion of compelling real-world long-term studies across key market segments, and finally, enhanced strategic partnerships and collaborations with key distributors and pest management professionals. With all of the key components now in place, late last year, we launched our first comprehensive marketing and advertising campaign, which we internally refer to as Operation Rat Race. The campaign includes conventional and digital advertising, paid and earned media, targeted email messaging to a significantly expanded list of high potential targets, and concentrated field sales efforts. The campaign takes a different tact from traditional pest control advertising in order to highlight ContraPest's different approach to pest management. It rolled out in late Q3 and Q4 in our key target markets. Although it's too early to talk about results, initial indications have been positive, and we're expanding the program into additional markets this year. As I mentioned in the context of the poultry market, we have continued to develop ContraPest to meet the various and changing needs of our customers. These are some of the things that we are working on or contemplating: new dispensing techniques, new formulations such as solid or semi-solid bait, expanded uses on the label, new target species, and additional attractants to further increase palatability and attraction. This past spring, we announced collaboration with Lytham to develop a new non-liquid formulation of ContraPest. And while our current liquid format is highly effective in a wide variety of applications, there are certain circumstances in which a non-liquid formulation might be preferable. In addition, having a non-liquid formulation will give pest management professionals the option to use ContraPest in a familiar format, such as Lytham First Strike product line. Lytham is a natural partner for us with their history of innovation in pest control. They recognize that ContraPest is a game changer for the industry. So we look forward to working with Lytham to develop this additional formulation for ContraPest as it opens up new addressable market opportunities for the company. I should point out, however, that this is considered an entirely new product by EPA, and as such is more than a year out, depending on the product development process and regulatory approval. So now let me turn it over to Tom for some further comments.
Thank you, Ken. The fourth quarter of 2021 showed continued improvement in the adoption of ContraPest. For the full year, our revenue was $600,000, representing a doubling of revenue. Those are the highlights. While we recently filed our 10-K with much more information, let me just limit my comments to a few elements of our financial status. This doubling trend has been sustained now for over a year. And we see the trend continuing in the first quarter of 2020. I would go so far as to say that we consider this doubling to be the baseline beyond which we can grow further, even further in 2022. To add what Ken mentioned about our target segments, this is our current revenue share for each of the markets. As might be expected, the commercial market, which includes PMPs or pest management firms, is a significant portion of our business. Somewhat of a surprise to us, the e-commerce segment has been an early area of success that continues to grow and be a significant part of our overall success. In agribusiness, while it's still early in that process, we've established solid relationships through companies focused on animal health and others that will be a valuable entry point into the agricultural market. We expect this segment to grow significantly, fueled by the new Elevate bait system for ContraPest. Our zoos and sanctuaries segment continues to gain traction, comprising nearly 20% of our year-to-date sales, with orders from more than 40 different customers. As you're likely aware, secondary exposure from poisons has become a growing concern, especially in environments where non-target animals or wildlife reside. ContraPest is increasingly being recognized among influencers within this segment as ideal for addressing the concerns of rat infestations due to lessened risk of non-target and predatory animals. On the government segment, it should be noted that many government entities use pest management professionals, so quite a bit of this business is captured in commercial. These strategies, against the backdrop of favorable legislative changes and growing environmental awareness, highlighted by California's new legislation, are playing well in our favor as well. Currently, sales to California are nearly a third of our overall sales across all target segments or verticals. The driver of revenue is a 400 milliliter tank of ContraPest, which is priced between $28 and $32 per tank and is replaced on at least a monthly basis. Depending on the type of deployment, a site might warrant one bait station, as with a single family dwelling, to 20 or more stations, as with an agricultural site. The cost of manufacturing is currently running a bit more than 50%, which is our target. In addition to this, discounts may add another 5 to 10% of cost. Thus, for the year, gross profit was 41% of sales. In addition, we invested heavily this past year in marketing and customer acquisition costs. We are continuing to invest in customer acquisition, though we carefully monitor the specific programs for efficacy and cost effectiveness. Taking into account all of the above, adjusted EBITDA loss, which is a non-GAAP measure of operating performance, for 2021 was $7 million compared to $6.9 million loss in 2020. We would expect adjusted EBITDA loss to continue at a pace of $7 to $8 million. Cash at the end of 2021 was approximately $9.3 million. With continued fiscal discipline, this cash should be sufficient to fuel our growth strategy for over a year. That said, as was mentioned last quarter, we have filed an S3 for a renewal of our shelf capacity, which expired earlier last year. A shelf or an S3 is an SEC provision to register a new issue of shares without having to sell the offering at once, but instead to offer portions of the issue selectively over a 3-year period. That is our intent, to be selective about capital raises, balancing the need for resources with shareholder interests. I would also note that there are 4.5 million warrants outstanding, over 3 million of which are near the money or expiring soon. These may prove an efficient source of capital as well. One additional note, as you may have seen, we recently received notification from NASDAQ of a bid price deficiency, providing notification that the bid price for our common stock had closed below $1 per share for the previous 30 consecutive business days, and our common stock no longer meets the minimum bid price requirement for continued listing on NASDAQ. We have an initial 180 calendar days or until August 29th to regain compliance. To regain compliance, the closing bid price of our common stock must be $1 per share or more for a minimum of 10 consecutive business days. If we do not regain compliance by August 29th, we may be eligible for an additional 180-day compliance period. It should be emphasized here that we do not need to or intend to contemplate a reverse stock split during this first 180-day period. We will instead focus on execution of our business plan and seek to regain compliance through success. As Ken had mentioned, we firmly believe we have the right product, the right opportunity, and we're bringing it to market in the right environment. Our commercialization approach is focused, our revenue is growing in a sustainable fashion, and we are continuing to improve our fiscal discipline. Thank you for your attention. Robert, at this point, I'll turn it back to you.
All right, guys, thank you very much for that presentation today. Again, I'll just sort of remind everyone, if you'd like to arrange a one-on-one meeting later this week with Tom and Ken here, send me an email, bloom@lythampartners.com, or again, visit the website at lythampartners.com/virtual. Click on that one-on-one meeting request button, and we'll look to get you taken care of. So, Ken, Tom, thank you very much for the presentation today. We hope you all enjoy the conference.
Thank you.